Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to talk about something huge, a revolutionary idea you've probably used without even realizing it. It's the brains behind the modern internet and the cloud, software-defined networking.
All right, before we get all technical, let's try a little thought experiment. Picture this, a world-class orchestra, right? Full of amazing musicians. But here's the twist. There's no conductor. Every single musician is just playing from their own sheet music, doing their own thing. No one's guiding the tempo, the rhythm, nothing.
Yeah, sounds like a total mess, doesn't it? Well, believe it or not, for a very long time, that's pretty much exactly how computer networks operated. You had all these powerful, brilliant devices, but each one was on its own little island, making its own decisions. I mean, it kind of worked, but it was messy. Definitely not harmonious.
So to really get why, we've got to crack open one of these traditional network devices, like a router. Inside every single one of these boxes, you had two key parts stuck together. First, the control plane. Think of this as the brain. It's making all the smart decisions. Then you have the data plane. That's the muscle. Its only job is to do the heavy lifting and just move data super, super fast. Okay, so this whole approach, having a separate brain in every single box, it created some major headaches. First off, it was a nightmare to manage. Network administrators had to literally program every device one by one. It was also super rigid. Trying to change anything or add a new feature? Forget about it. It took forever. And maybe the biggest problem? It was really, really expensive. But then some really smart folks came along and asked a game-changing question. They said, wait a minute, what if we could just take the brain out of every single device and stick it in one central spot? And that right there, that simple but brilliant idea, is the absolute core of what we call software-defined networking, or SDN. So, SDN totally flips the script. It separates the brain from the muscle. All that smart decision-making stuff, it gets pulled out and put into one single piece of software called the SDN Controller. The actual network gear, the routers and switches, they become, well, kind of dumb. They're just the muscle now, super fast machines that just do what they're told. This is huge because the network's intelligence is no longer locked inside the hardware. It lives in the software. And just like that, our messy orchestra finally gets its conductor. The SDN controller is that conductor. It has this amazing bird's eye view of the entire network. It sees everything, every path, all the traffic, and it can tell every single device exactly what to do, making them all work together in perfect harmony. Okay, so this all sounds cool in theory, right? But what's the real payoff? Why did this idea change everything? Well, the benefits are, and I'm not exaggerating here, completely transformative. For starters, with one central brain, managing the network becomes way, way simpler. You can see and control everything, your whole global network, from a single dashboard. Plus, the network becomes programmable. You can literally write code to create new services in minutes instead of months. And security? Oh man, security gets a massive upgrade. You can spot a threat and, boom, push a new rule to every single device on the network instantly. And that brings us to maybe the biggest reason everyone jumped on board, the cost. See, because all the smarts are in the software now, you don't need to buy those super expensive specialized boxes from one vendor anymore. You can just use cheaper, off-the-shelf generic hardware. We call it commodity hardware. And that saves companies an absolute ton of money. Now, I know this might still sound a little out there, a little abstract, but here's the thing. I can pretty much guarantee you have used SDN's power, maybe even in the last hour, and you didn't even know it. It turns out SDN is the secret sauce that makes the modern cloud possible. All those massive, super flexible on-demand networks from Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, yep, they are all built from the ground up on the principles of SDN. Think about it. Anytime you log into AWS or Azure and you use their nice web interface to, say, create a new private network or set up a firewall, you're not actually touching any hardware. What you're really doing is using that simple interface to program a gigantic underlying SDN controller. And that controller is reconfiguring the real physical network for you instantly. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of the huge shift we've been talking about, and let's see how this stuff actually works in the real world. So we've gone from a world where every network device was its own smart, expensive, and complicated island to a completely new world, One where a single, central software brain is in charge, controlling a whole bunch of simple, cheap hardware. The network went from being something static and rigid to something that's alive, flexible, and totally programmable. So, let's get practical. In the old days, if you were a manager with offices in 10 different cities, making a network change was a huge pain. You'd need people on the ground in each city, or you'd have to log into hundreds of devices one by one. With SDN, nah. You just open up a single web page from anywhere on the planet, and you can manage the entire company's network right from there. And what about a cyber attack? Let's say a huge DDoS attack starts hammering your network. The SDN Controller, because it sees everything, can automatically spot that malicious traffic. It can figure out where it's coming from, and in an instant, reprogram every single device on the edge of the network to just drop it. The attack is shut down before it even gets close to your important stuff. And really, that's the most exciting part, and the thought I want to leave you with. This whole shift from hardware to software, it's not just about making old things a little bit better or more efficient. It completely changes what a network is. It turns the network itself into a platform for innovation. So the real question is, if you can program a network just like you program an app, what amazing new things are we going to build next? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.